What's the latest at the Rafah crossing that you're hearing?
So right now, it's obviously getting to be dark in Gaza, no electricity, so people generally do not move at night just out of fear of what could possibly happen. There was a little bit of confusion, it seemed, as to whether or not people would be allowed to cross into Rafah. As you can imagine, it is very hard to communicate with people inside of the Gaza Strip. So if you are a Palestinian American or a European American of any of these countries who have some way of getting out, perhaps because you have a passport that the Egyptians will allow you to get out, there was the hope that if you can get to the Rafah side, on the Palestinian side of the border, that the Egyptians would let you in. But that doesn't seem to be the case. I've been in touch with a few people who have relatives there, and they are not even able to speak with their family members to find out if they're making there. And as you were just reporting, the danger in the convoys themselves is that even when thousands of people are following the orders and the instructions of the Israeli military to move out of these areas in the north, we're seeing reports of convoys being hit. And as a result, people are just extremely afraid and are unable to move to get to some of these safe places that they're being instructed to.
Yeah, that video diary, she was saying they were going to northern Gaza, which people in northern Gaza are being told to evacuate to southern Gaza. What do you make of only Americans or dual citizens being allowed to use the Rafah crossing?
Look, I have to say that sounds very sinister. I mean, there's just something on one hand that is very troubling that you're saying to, if you are a Palestinian American, you can get out. But if you are a Palestinian, you can't get out. And I know that obviously the international community wants to have everybody out or to have an international corridor, but it's obviously not playing out the way that the international community wants it to. Egypt has not opened its border for everyone, let alone these foreigners that, or dual citizens, I should say, that are being told to leave. And at the same time, you have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of Palestinians that are just simply stuck in Gaza with nowhere to go. There's obviously nowhere for them to get to Egypt. They can't go into the water, and Israel is not going to allow them to have any safe passage across the Gaza border into Israel. So they are just simply right now surviving, trying to fight for their lives one way or the other, simply as like civilians not knowing how to do it. And to your point about just the overall humanitarian condition, the UN today warning that they have run out of water, they're running out of water. Hospitals taking in tens of thousands of people because they're just afraid. They don't know where to go. So the grounds of the hospitals now become shelters.
No electricity, no fuel for these generators.
No food, no supplies,
can you
no
talk
medicine.
about what this could compound to if now people there are forced to drink potentially contaminated well water, and then we could potentially have a massive healthcare crisis?
That is exactly what the United Nations is warning of. They're warning of either dehydration or waterborne contamination because people are left to drink water that is obviously contaminated, not treated. And as a result, you can expect, they are warning the UN of massive outbreaks of diseases if these people are not treated. So the conditions in which the people of Gaza find themselves right now is nothing short of a humanitarian catastrophe. Not my words. UN officials are ringing those bells saying we are now at the point where hospitals are beginning to collapse. The main hospital in Shifa has several backup generators, but keep in mind they've been running on generators now for 4 days. So we are in the window in which the hospital, the main hospital in Gaza City that is serving thousands of people on a daily basis, and forget people that are victims of the conflict, pregnant women, elderly women, anyone who had a medical condition, these people who are being treated at the hospital, all of them now, according to the health officials, are in the final hours of the power supply. When that power supply runs out, the most basic functions of a hospital, the NICU units or intensive care units for newborn babies and what have you, none of those will be able to continue to operate.
How do you reconcile what we're hearing from Israel and the global community at large saying Israel has a right to defend itself, but when we hear from Israelis saying it's time to destroy Hamas, at least the militant arm of Hamas, and we hear what this incursion could look like, and we could be weeks, months of an elongated conflict, which we don't know that yet, but that is what our analysts in this hour have been saying. How do you reconcile that with the humanitarian crisis that we're seeing on the fact that so many of these evacuees are women, are children?
So I think that this week has been a week of tremendous human suffering. If you start back from the incident of last Saturday, the terrorist attacks on Israeli civilians, there is a through line of grief for the people in southern Israel and that entire country for what they had to experience. And that through line continues to what we're seeing now 1 week, and it's not going to abate. The suffering on both sides, the civilian suffering on both sides, has been an absolutely painful stain on humanity, I have to say, because the international community has failed to protect the Israelis that were living there in the southern part of Israel, and they have now failed to protect the civilian population that's there.